Jody's just FYI. Just tell her it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's not like it's an everyday thing.
1 day last year, 3 days this year.
And if we got too many, not enough seats, we'll make more seats.
I hear you online because I talk really, really well.
So do I.
I've got my trouble.
You were talking about nutrition.
It's got reduced what was sent to me, but that's the wrong person. It's over her. Yeah, I'm all, yeah, carries across me.
Yeah,
Let me call to order the workshop session of the Town Board of Commissioners for February 15th, 2004. The first item on the agenda would be to review and approve the agenda. And let me say, before we do the approval process, the top thing is a discussion of business owners and leaders. I put down follow-up items, appointment policy for amendment to the planning board and weekend construction work regulations. Given the number of people here, I don't think we will get to those follow-up items, and we will continue those reviews at our next meeting. But with that said, do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as presented? Okay, and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get started, because here's the setup. I've invited anybody in the business community. If you want to come down and talk and have a discussion with the board tonight, please feel free to do so. I apologize. Our microphones are in short supply. So if you do want to talk, I'd appreciate everybody at the table just kind of moving them around, because this is being broadcast and we want our people viewing this to be able to hear. So let me just go over a few items. I got some feedback a while back about concerns about the town and how it can better support the business community. And from that discussion, I, as the mayor, thought, well, it would be good to have a sit down with the business community and let's have a discussion about how the town can have a better understanding and support the business community and the economy. I know Kay McCann of the chamber today put out a call for people to come, and she made reference to a collaborative process, and I like that, and I'm glad that she characterized it that way. I asked people several months ago if they wanted to give any feedback to me in anticipating having such a meeting, to send those items to me. To be quite frank, I didn't get a lot of feedback, but I got some. And from that, I just started making notes about what were the concerns expressed. And you have before you kind of a list of those concerns that I kind of ascertained from all of the feedback that I did get. That doesn't mean we can't talk about more things tonight, but these were the things that I saw. Lack of workforce housing, parking regulations, current town ordinances are too restrictive for businesses, and it covers things like sign ordinances, capacity limits, outdoor lighting, seating, and so forth. Restrictions on hotels in B1 hamper tourist development. More sales tax revenue should be directed toward businesses. Support for outdoor recreation businesses that are not on Main Street, but are a very important part of our economy. Now, I'm going to be talking about that at our regular meeting, a meeting I just had about that. And then we'll do follow-up, because I know that we're not going to solve anything tonight. This is a workshop, and we don't solve problems at our workshops. We identify them and we discuss different aspects of them. So in that spirit, this is what I think this will be. We'll have this ending this at 7 o'clock since we have a regular business meeting, but I think we'll have follow-up meetings. I have a community coffee. I'd be happy to continue those discussions at that point. I am willing as the mayor to have another roundtable at a special time where we're not pressed for time. And then I think some things that we might identify, the planning board could be brought in to review and analyze some of those issues. There might be some community groups that want to take initiatives and address certain concerns. And then I would say overall, the town board has requested that our attorney in his firm, Bob Hageman in his firm, to do a review of our unified development ordinance. We have not done that in a number of years. And they are in the process and will be reporting to the board in the months to come what they saw with our unified development ordinance. Are there places that we need to change, improve, make corrections? And that would be a part of a process that would involve the community also. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to throw the, I'll be kind of the moderator. I'm going to throw it open to the folks who are at the round table. And let's just hit some of these topics such as workforce housing. Does anybody have any comments about the big issue that we have in this community about workforce housing? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Number one, I would like to thank you for being willing to have this roundtable discussion with the business people of
The whole
Highlands.
board.
And the whole board,
Yeah.
absolutely, the whole board. As far as workforce housing goes, and I don't think that anybody is here prepared to have huge solutions.
No.
To anything that's on this list, but just to open a conversation about it. The town, I would like to see the town make a stronger effort to try to help with solving the workforce housing problem. And that's all I have to say about that. And in future conversations, maybe we can work together to have solutions.
Okay. And Mike, we did at the last meeting, collaborate with the chamber in supporting, they're going to approach Dogwood Health Trust to do a comprehensive workforce housing study like they did in Cashiers here in Highlands and the surrounding areas too.
Okay.
And that has started.
Yes,
Just so
it has?
everybody knows.
Okay.
Yeah, we've met with Dogwood several times. And that has been-
The application for the grant.
That is in the works.
Yeah.
We've had multiple meetings with them to discuss what the process is. And obviously, for it to go forward, it's going to require public and private collaboration.
Pat, if I wasn't prepared to speak on this, but I will, because we've worked on it a lot. And as you know, we have self-funded all of our employee housing. I was once told by the town that employee housing was not a town issue. It was a private sector issue. And I would like to say that I totally wholeheartedly disagree with that concept. And I think if you look at many, many other towns throughout the United States, Jackson Hole, Asheville, other places, lack of workforce housing is like a cancer, and it will slowly ruin a town if the people that live here and work here and shop here and spend money here cannot live here. And it cannot be just a private sector issue. There are a lot of people that I've been approached in the last 5 months by probably 2 or 3 investors who would love to get into some type of workforce housing, invest in it, but it's going to take some, not financial contribution from the town, but some help from the town to make that happen, whether it's sewage, whether it's building, building changes. But if this town does not have a workforce to help it survive and to keep the shops and the restaurants and the businesses alive during slower seasons, it'll slowly eat away at this town. I feel very strongly about it. Like I said, we've handled it ourselves. Not everyone can, but the fact is, I think our nurses and our teachers and our managers And those people deserve to be able to live, maybe not right in town, but closer to town. And I think ignoring it and sticking our head in the hole and pretending it's not a problem will eventually bite us. So I would just ask that we, come up with some type of plan to consider that workforce housing is a huge issue as it is throughout the United States.
Thank you. And if I may respond, I think you left one government organization out of it, and that is the county.
Agreed.
I'd like, and they do have a housing department, and I hope that they will become partners also.
Agreed there. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Andrew Gear, I'm new to the community from Charleston, but certainly have experienced some of this issue as well. But one of the things we were in Telluride a couple of years ago, and they're experiencing the same thing, much like second what he said about Asheville and some other areas. But one of the things that they're dealing with is the details of not just providing places for people to live, maybe subsidies to help keep rent down, that sort of thing. But one of the things is how do you determine who gets those spots? Then if they don't continue to work in the area, how do you determine who leaves those spots? If you are in a job that is tied to that and you don't like your job and you want to leave, can you stay in the workforce housing? These types of issues are really, you can provide all the space and the subsidy for people to live, but the details of that are really important to make sure that as you're going through this, you identify the people that really need help, and then also have an entrance and an exit strategy for people that live in those types of places, because you can be taken advantage of not only by the person living there, but also by their boss, who knows if they quit their job, they're out. So think about that when you're doing that.
Okay.
Pat, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know did this list come from the emails that you received?
It's kind of a summary of it. Yeah.
Okay. The only reason I was asking that question is because and you don't have to say yes if you didn't, but has anybody that's sitting here did you send in an email to Pat? Okay. About this?
George did.
Okay, one. And that's great. The only reason I mention that is because and I don't want to completely change your format. This is up to you, but what I'm asking is maybe we want to go down one by one, and they might have other issues that are not on this list. That, I mean, I'm sure they all have an opinion about the lack of workforce housing, but maybe we'll find other ideas that weren't on the list because they weren't emailed. If that makes sense. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Have no problem with it at all. So open.
Does it go left or right?
Why don't you start?
We'll start with you, Black.
I had some talking points, and I'll read it just so that I won't get off track. But first of all, thank you, Mayor and the commissioners, for you guys agreeing and putting and allowing us to be here. I'm Bly Hunsinger. I'm the new chair of the Highlands Chamber of Commerce. And, over the years, we feel like the chamber has done a lot of good things to provide essential services and support to not only businesses, but also to residents and visitors alike. I'm just here on behalf of the chamber and our business owners in Highlands, just to ask for, in your word, Mayor Pat, collaboration from both the mayor and the commissioners for the betterment of our community. I feel like we have an opportunity, we being the chamber and the town, have an opportunity to reset our relationship on a number of fronts. And I think the areas that really are on your list are key areas of concern that we hear from a response of our chamber members all the time. So I think that collaboration is critical. And again, I think a meeting like this is a great place to start. We're not going to solve it tonight. We're not going to solve it in one other meeting. I think it's a dynamic and ongoing relationship that I think we have an opportunity to refresh and move forward on together. So one of the things obviously that is a big deal is the use of our occupancy tax, right? We, the chamber, hold the keys to that. That money is earned in Highlands and comes back to Highlands, and then the chamber has a responsibility of using that in a thoughtful way. And the things that say that we continue to use those dollars for is to promote our community, prioritizing a quality of life and sustainability, to provide vital assistance to local nonprofits through grants and sponsorships, to offer free, family-friendly entertainment for residents and visitors alike, to maintain a welcoming and informative welcome center, to enhance the aesthetics and sanitation of our downtown area, to create employment opportunities for local residents and ensuring that the benefits of our endeavors circle back to our community. You know, in the spirit of fostering a collaborative and a relationship, I think we can continue to ensure that Highlands remains a premier place to live and work. And that's it. You know, I had a lot of feedback in coming into my new role with a new face, some energy around, hey, how are we going to approach this relationship with the town? And I'm here just to represent the chamber and our members to say, we're here to have that conversation and happy to move forward with you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Blaine. Okay.
I do, but I'd like, just getting there's a couple of things I'm leaving out based on the time and the amount of people we have, but I'm happy to go. I'll go. So my name is Steve Hinkie. Nice to meet you all. We have the art gallery right across the street that most of you haven't been in. And we'd like to have you come. And I'll tell you that if anybody comes in during off season and buys anything, we'll donate 5% of all of our proceeds to whatever y'all figure out to do that might cost money. Because we'd like to be a part of our town here. We've come here 2 years ago. I've been coming here for 35 years. Beata's lived in the Appalachians 30 years. And we've really tried to work our way in, and it hasn't worked. And part of the reason it hasn't worked is we spent too much money trying to repair a tear down building because there wasn't anything available. So we struggled and spent too much and didn't even have enough money for a roadside. So we put an open sign at the lawn. And immediately we were beat up by the police over and over, hounded. Police officer wouldn't leave our premises until I pulled the open sign out of the ground, saying that it's against town rules to have an open sign. And so no one knew where we were. I had 6 months of no sign where people would with flowers and open place. When somebody finally wandered in, they'd say, we didn't know you're open. We don't know what you are. I put the open sign back at the yard. They came and maybe tear it right back out. That open sign exists on 5 other businesses in town separate from their building. And the people who have our VRBOs and rent cabins in the area have a for rent sign in the yard, but not for that property. You cannot have a selective misuse and abuse of the First Amendment. So my open sign will be in my yard from now on. It will be embellished. It will be nicer. It might be made lit. If you tell me I can't have it, I will find artists who make open signs and I will put 40 of them in the yard and sell open signs for a living. Because I need to have people know that we're there. So 3 months ago at the off season, I put the open sign in the yard. The police officer came right in. I said,
I'll stop you. We'll be happy to talk to you about the enforcement and
yes, but the point is that we need to have a change. I've been beat up by the First Amendment abuse in this town, and now you want to take away our lighting. Here's the other
let me stop
I get a chance to speak.
Dr. Hinkie, but you're using some really bear baiting terms like abuse and everything. We have ordinances and our police tried to enforce it.
Your ordinance does not
equitably
supersede the Constitution, Mayor.
Okay.
I don't care who pays you off. Bottom line is you
No one
cannot
pays me off, sir.
supersede
No,
the
whoa.
Constitution.
Hold
Nobody
it, hold
pays
it.
me off either,
Well,
sir.
then don't be accusing me of such things.
I don't care what. You stop your own rumor mill. I don't want to do it. The bottom line is that you cannot supersede the Constitution. We have not seceded from the Union here. So the bottom line is you can't do it. And we're not going to let you do it. And every business in the place shouldn't let you do it. And the officer that you put in charge of doing it should not have to endure that level of separating. And when it comes to the lights, I know you're coming after us and the stubborn seeds next door and Debbie's building while you maintain lights other places. So the bottom line is you can't pull rights on that either. We've got people who say they refuse to walk in our building because they can't climb a hill. They can't climb a hill in the dark. They're afraid of the bears. They're afraid they can't see the broken concrete that's been tore up by all the use of mountain bindings using the lots. So we need lights so that people don't get hurt. Now, I think we could dim them down at 10 or 11 o'clock at night or putting them on motion detectors, but people walk up to the windows to look inside on their way back to their hotels at 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night. They can't get hurt there. We have a $2 million policy and 98% of the cars who park in our lot don't walk into our gallery. So I thank you for hearing me out. I don't like being interrupted. I'm autistic and I have my own difficulties in communicating with other people. For that, I apologize. Thank you.
Okay. Tricia.
I don't know that. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hi.
It's unmovable, yes. I'm Beata Gola. I am co-owner of Art Highlands Gallery. So thank you for listening to Steve's point of view. I just would like to add that, yes, we have opened our business a year and a half ago. We are a part of your community, which we consider ours. We all welcome you to come in at least and welcome new business and other new businesses in town that perhaps you haven't visited. This is a very small community, it's very intimate, yet we feel a disconnect. Lights, if it comes to lights, there's safety for us and for our business, and we cannot afford not to have them. So I was just emailed by the town that I need to take my lights down. And I'm not going to do it right yet because I don't have another solution without having my business unlit at night. And if it comes to signage, yes, we need to talk about it. And the town needs to come up with solution to support the businesses that need signage. I feel that we've been targeted and selected by having our small little open sign before we could afford our big sign that's permanent by being asked to remove it. It's not fair. So I'm asking you to consider that not only for us, but for other businesses or new businesses that are not necessarily on Main Street, and have 1% maybe of Main Street's walking traffic. We are part of this community, so please ponder on this. Thank you.
Tricia.
I'm Tricia Cox, obviously with the chamber, still on the board of the chamber, but I'm also with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Please use the microphone.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm on the chamber board, but I'm also with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And we have a couple of offices in town. I don't know that I have anything specific that is not on this list.
Okay.
I would second that we need to revisit things like sign ordinances, specifically speaking about the real estate community, which is a big part of the economy here. I find it a little, I don't know what the word is, absurd maybe, that people can put literally paper their windows, which does not look good, versus being able to put a very elegant lighted sign in a window on Main Street. And I'm not talking about neon signs. We're talking about what you see as like basically soft lit LED screens. Whether you're, and this doesn't just apply to real estate, it obviously applies to other businesses in town that are promoting something that they're selling. So for us, I think sign ordinances and parking are very big issues that we need to come up with some solutions for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to talk, I think maybe Richard Delaney, I think you know me. I'm going to talk more on a 50,000 foot level from my last 16 years here in Highlands, and my experience with the board, which, as you know, I think has been a lot. And talking to a lot of business owners and residents in town, especially younger ones, that there's a perception that from the board, there's a feeling of status quo is great. Let's not change anything. Leave it like it is. Well, I can tell you from a business point of view, that's a death to a business. You have to change. Doesn't mean change for the worse. You can change for the better, but you need to change. And I hear, why do we need to change anything? Why do businesses need to be busier? Well, that's because that's how we live, and that's how our employees live. And that's how their families live. And that's what makes this town sustainable, strong, and viable, by making our business busier. I can tell you, and I think all of you know, in 2008, when I first got here, we were not busy. I don't even believe there was a bar in town. There were not many restaurants that stayed open year round, and most businesses struggled to survive. So I just question, why is it wrong to change so that a business can open 12 months and give a family and their employees a viable economy where they can live, prosper, and grow? I feel that there's a perception out there, and one that I feel too, that the board is not open to creative new ideas that would make our town better, would make our quality of life better for residents and full-time residents of this town, and also increase business. It seems to be reactive and not proactive. I've been in too many meetings when a resident or business, including us, brought something to the board that was proactive, exciting, unique. And the perception, the feeling is the first reaction to the board is skepticism, dismissiveness.
Could
And
you
the
give an
fir-
example of that, Richard?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I didn't want to get into that detail, but I got plenty. And the first questions are, why would we do this? How much will it cost? Followed by 101 questions as to why this won't work, instead of 101 questions as to why this possibly could work. Right? It would be nice to hear once in a while, wow, that's a great idea. That could be fun. That could be great for the town, but we need to discuss the details and see if we can work that out. Instead of, I don't know, that's probably not going to work. What about this? What about this? What about this? And that perception persists among business owners and residents, and I've seen it firsthand on many occasions. There are towns like Asheville, Hendersonville, Silver, plenty of towns where actually the town board is proactive and brings ideas and projects to the table to make the town better. And I don't see that happening. It's always, seems to me that it's always left to the business sector or residents in town to suggest ideas and things that can happen in town. And then the town either signs off on it or it doesn't. So I'd like the town to be more proactive versus reactive. Brian, in response to your question, if you want to get into details, I'll throw out music in the park, okay? Which I believe Thomas and Kay Craig first brought to the board's attention, which struggled to get a hold when towns all across the country, including Caches, are doing it. And there were comments like drinking, drugs, fights, a very negative perception, which is now turned into this amazing event on Saturdays where families and children can run free. And we listen to music, and it's been a huge addition for the residents of this town and businesses and visitors. But it was not easy to go at the beginning, right? Swimming pool, all right? I had to fight to give $1.2 million to this town to cover a pool, which is now used by young teenagers and younger at the school for a full-time swim team, which now participates in state and national finals, right? Where they can swim all year. You have the hospital giving prescriptions for people for water aerobics and people getting healthy. But it was a battle. How much is it going to cost? That's a good question, but it should be the first question, right, Pat?
It costs a lot more.
I
And
know.
I'll say it's been worth it, Richard.
But yeah, I would ask the thousands of people that you have on record using that pool whether or not it's worth it. Is it going to make a profit? The pool was not there to make a profit, right? Do our town services make a profit? No.
And looking back, because I was the mayor when that happened, I don't think that there was the expectation that there'd be a profit. It was the loss.
There were comments from the town that said, are we making a profit? Will it make a profit? So I'm not, and I could go on, but I'm not. I'm
Okay.
just saying that I just wish the town would sometimes receive some of the generosity from some of the amazing people in this town and some of the ideas as a, wouldn't that be great? That sounds like a fun idea. The board needs to talk about it. We have issues to discuss, but not first off the bat, start thinking about why this won't work. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I please say one thing? Thank you. That was awesome. May I make a side comment? Yesterday or last Friday, Brevard launched a social district for downtown Brevard that collectively invites all businesses, art galleries, and restaurants, et cetera, to be a part of a social system where people can tap on their phone and get linked right in. And the town board created it. And, you know, we don't even have little signs on the street that say art gallery this way, which we could use to drive some traffic down or up 4th Street. I think it would be really great along this gentleman's great ideas if we might consider jumping right on Brevard's thing and copy it quick as we can.
Okay, Mike?
Mike Bryson, been here a few days myself, but the town, we as a community and the town need to do a better job of working together. I think this is the first step toward doing that. I don't necessarily feel like that necessarily the town listens to some of the ideas that some people have, but we need to do a better job of that. We need to do a better job of trying, and this is another rarity that I am, of one of the people that grew up here and actually stayed here. We need to do a better job somehow of getting those people to stay. But we can all work together and accomplish that if we'll all work together. And thank all of you again for listening tonight, and hopefully we'll have more of these roundtable meetings.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
George Powell with Highlands Aerial Park in Scaly Mountain. I just want to bring to your attention, recreation, outdoor recreation in North Carolina is the #1 revenue generator. It does more than the banking and insurance and financial industries combined. Now, in Western North Carolina, it's even more important. In Highlands, it may not be, it's diluted somewhat because of the resort and the fine dining and the lodging and the hotels and what have you, but we're still important. But we're not on Main Street. We're out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight is good because we don't use your parking. We don't generate trash. We don't create traffic. We really don't use any of your infrastructure, but we're so dependent upon your referrals because when you're out of sight, out of mind, people don't think about us. And I look at the Facebook recommendations. People say, "What is there to do in Highlands?" Well, one of the first things to do is they talk about, well, there's Whiteside Mountain Hike, there's Dry Falls, and all of those are great. But they don't employ anybody. They don't generate any revenue, and they don't give back to the community in donations and contributions. There is fee-based and there's free-based recreation, and the free-based is important, but I mean it's obvious. The fee-based is not quite as obvious, and there are 9 fee-based members in the chamber that when we talk about collaboration, we have brought together collaboration. We are operating under the theme "Get Up, Get Out," which goes back to the era when we were a sanitarium or a health place, and it's get up, get out. Well, get up, get out. That's our theme. So we've got 9 businesses that are collaborating to do that. None of us compete with anybody in this room or any business on Main Street. We contribute, but we don't take away. So really what we want is just some recognition in town to remind residents, to remind shopkeepers, to remind staff, to remind servers, When people say, what is there to do? Remember, there's golf down at Sky Valley, which is the only place you can play golf on the plateau without being a member of a country club. We have where the tubing hill, the snow, both summer and winter, and the coaster. Those fellows have put about $4 million into the area over the last year. We're the closest snow from Houston to Charleston for people in that area. So,
We were.
huh?
We were.
Well,
Well,
I'm talking about the generated snow. Yeah. So what we would like is just recognition some way throughout the town, whether it be decals on the windows or whether it be signing or whether it be contests or whatever, just of referrals. We're not whining. We're not desperate. Every one of these 9 businesses have been in business 10 years or more. We're profitable. We're doing fine. We're well recognized in our own industries. Just a plug for the zip line. We're recognized as one of the top 5 tree-based zip lines in the world. We're one of 8 of over 3,000 aerial park, whether it be zip lines or whatever. Only 8 of us are certified to the highest level. We're one of the 8. So each one of these 9 businesses is certified, accredited, insured, best in the class. And we just want to be recognized and remind through some kind of a program that we're available. And so that's our position.
George, let me just ask you a question. The Highlands Chamber, the Franklin Chamber, the outdoor promotion group in the region, plus the Nolasi group, they've applied for a major grant to promote outdoor recreation in Western Carolina. I think you're involved in that?
Well, we built our course 12 years ago. There was a course that we copied shamelessly that was built in Asheville. Their name is Navitat. They're 18 miles outside of Asheville. But when they built their course, Buncombe County gave them $500,000 in grant to build that course because the idea was that it would keep people in town an extra day for restaurants and shopping and lodging. We didn't ask for any money, but that's the kind of thought process that goes into generating this. I talk to the chamber. I'm annoying to the chamber. I know that. And in turn,
Look at me, you won't be any annoying more than me. Anyone else like to share?
well, maybe I'm annoying in a quieter way, but I do keep the pressure on with comments when I don't say. For example, we talked about what the chamber did, and you're so good. You're so right. I was on the chamber board also. I support you. We're members of 4 chambers. But the chamber made what they called an annual report that they sent out and it was pretty much a pat yourself on the back. This is what we've done. I've never seen an annual report that didn't have financials. So that annual report didn't say where the money went that's generated, and it's almost $1 million, I think, or was close to that when I was on the board. So those are the kind of things that, I don't want to antagonize anybody. I don't mind annoying, but I don't want to antagonize. But just keep the pressure on. And
Sorry, Pat, it seems like he needs a meeting with the chamber, not with you.
Okay, thank you, George.
Hi, sorry for just jumping in.
Oh, it's
I'm
okay.
Clarissa and I'm a business owner here.
What
I
business?
have a, do what?
What business?
The Stubborn Bull,
What?
previously known as the Stubborn Seats. I am 35, so I'm a young business owner, and I have between 40 and 50 people on my staff year round. And I just want to say that I think the conversation around employee housing is at this point way behind the 8 ball. And we're missing the mark when it comes to strong leadership in our businesses. How am I supposed to find professionals, a lot of which are going to have families, especially if they are older in their career, that can help lead the younger employees if there's no stable environment to bring them into? I used to live in Aspen, which had a huge housing issue, and was a part of employee housing there. And there is a difference between city county housing and employee housing. So I know someone raised concerns with people being taken advantage of. And there's systems for all of those and how people qualify. All of the framework for that is already in place if you are looking to copy it and things like that. But what I think is odd is we have something that I consider a crisis. As someone who is looking to be a business owner here for the next 20 years or so, I am younger and looking to put roots here, which, and by the way, I live an hour and 20 minutes away because I can't afford housing here. Even though I can own a business here, I can't afford to live here. But what's being changed and talked about are things like string lights, which seem so arbitrary in the grand scheme of things. Why do we care so much about non-obtrusive lighting when I can't hire professionals to run my businesses because there's literally absolutely nowhere for them to live, not even a tiny home that is remotely affordable. I also heard about like a doctor leaving because they couldn't find housing. You know, my servers, my college kids, they can drive. They don't mind driving 30 to 45 minutes to work. But how do I attract somebody with 15 years experience who has a spouse and kids when there's absolutely nowhere for them to live? And we're worried about lights.
I hate to be a letdown. I'm Jim Tate. I came as president of Tate Landscaping tonight to address the noise ordinance changes. So that was my number one topic. But I also think I would like to provide an interesting perspective to this discussion tonight. I not only own Main Street property here in town, but also commercial property, what I would consider commercial property, even though there's no zoning outside of the city limits. And I, like many of the people in this room, spent my whole life here, and the town has changed tremendously. Do I like it? Not necessarily all the time, but it's something, it's just like all things in life. It's just something we've got to embrace and deal with. So obviously, as y'all know, I've spent a long time as a county commissioner here. And it's interesting to me to watch what's happening with the town. And because of the success of the town over especially the past 15 years, what's happening on the corridors outside of the town. I feel like somewhat the town of Highlands is in somewhat of a box due to the zoning district, and there really hasn't been growth in the commercial area for business, even though the town is growing in a long time. And because of that, it's forced a lot of changes on our corridors. And what does that cause? It causes more septic systems instead of sewer systems. And is that really good for our environment? Is all this growth on the corridors really good? I don't know. I mean, I think that's the question. I appreciate y'all starting to open this conversation up with all these business owners of how we address it, how we address the plateau as a whole, and how we move forward.
Okay, thank you, Jim. All right, don't want to rush. If anyone in the audience would like to make a comment, I know we had these tables here, but you're welcome to come and speak. No one?
You have the model that she's talking about. I am connected to the city council and different people in Aspen, and they would probably extend the process. There could be
right, I'd like, if any of the board members would like to make any comments or respond, I'll open it up to any discussion.
No, I mean, I'd just like to say thank you all for coming. I mean, it's eye-opening. I mean, it's definitely something that we all strive for. I think in the town, I mean, I've always thought that I was business, more of a business-oriented person, but I think as a town commissioner, like we have the tendency to be devil's advocate on everything. And I think, Richard, that's kind of like whenever somebody suggests something, we kind of look at it like you look at it from almost the negatives as opposed to the positives. And that's just the nature of being a commissioner. But I mean, I think everybody here brings up very valid points. And I think it's something that we, going forward, we definitely take into consideration. So, I mean, again, I just want to thank everybody for having the courage to speak up and talk about these things. Thank you. And also too, it doesn't take, and I'll speak for myself, and I know I speak for other commissioners too, and saying like, you can call me anytime and talk about these things. Like you don't need to wait till we have a business forum like this in order to do this. Like I'll gladly talk to anybody, anytime about this stuff.
So I will say, I agree with everything Brian just said. I'd be happy to talk to anybody at any point. I appreciate everybody coming. And apparently not apparently, I am the new guy. So people have felt comfortable coming to me and speaking to me. I've had a lot of people in this room and some people that aren't here tonight speak to me about their concerns with the business community versus the town. And I was reminded just tonight by a very long time business owner, Main Street business owner, Main Street property owner, about the business relations committee. I don't know what it was called, that there used to be. And I still think that has is a very valid possibility. They used to meet monthly. I'm not suggesting that, but I do think meeting quarterly and having two commissioners, whoever they might be, I'd be more than happy to be one of those two. But that'll be up to everybody else. And have another one and meet with a group of business leaders. Now, it can be, so it doesn't have to be a formal meeting. That's why there's only two. I'm sure most people understand that, but I think it'd be worth revitalizing that and come up and yes, we are going to discuss the problems, but we're also going to discuss what everybody in the community thinks are the solutions. And I know years ago when that happened, I believe, Richard, you might have been on that committee. There's Bill Bubenik was on that committee. There's some others here that were on that committee. And I just think I'm just going to suggest that and recommend it moving forward. But I think that's how we keep this conversation going. And I think that can be more productive. Then we can bring it back to the board without having to have formal meetings that have a time limit and everything else. And I understand this is a great starting point. I realize this wasn't the end all solution. It was just to get the comments introduced. But it's just my suggestion moving forward as the new guy.
Thank you. Yes, that's a great point because I want to thank you all for being open and to listen to our concerns and our comments because we do care. And I hope that all of us care. This community could be very, very dynamic. It's already a dynamic community, but you understand that certain laws have to be rewritten, updated with change of your demographics, change of residents, and all that's coming with it. What's the next step? So this is, I love that idea because we've spoken a little bit. Now the work has to begin in order to move forward and to progress. This could be a 12-month community dynamic for businesses that can really, really succeed, but there is a lot of work ahead. So I also would be willing to participate in that and offer my perspective. I've lived in several countries and towns here in United States, and I bring some experience from other areas, things that work and don't necessarily work. So I'd be happy to contribute. Thank you.
If I could say one more thing,
Sure.
Mayor, I just want to thank you too for bringing this together because it was your idea and as well as the community. And I think this was time well spent.
Okay, very good. Anyone else want to make a comment or kind of wrap this up? Let me just say one thing. Go ahead.
I got one comment I'd like to make. I was born and raised here We're 4 or 5 generation Highlanders. And I will say that I think we live in a lot better place than we did 30 years ago. I grew up here. I don't miss the open sewer running under what is now the dry sink. You know, it's just a whole lot better place than it used to be. Now you can make a living here instead of just surviving. And all those things are good. So let's keep it going and keep it going.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming and sharing your ideas. I will say one thing with the caution of coming out is if I want to be regressive and against change and so forth. I hear what the business community is saying. I think there's a balance though. This community has, and I think of it as kind of as an anachronistic community in that people want to come here because we are different than a lot of other communities. And it's like going back in time and they enjoy the businesses and the wonderful atmosphere that we have. And while we move forward, I don't want to see us compromise that. So I think there's a delicate balance there that has to be.
Pat, if I can speak to that, I get, and the clapping, I agree with that. But those same people want to go to Madison's 12 months a year
I
or the
understand
Ugly
that.
Dog, right? But they have to understand that for those businesses to survive 12 months a year, we have to be busy. Right. So it's like they want to be able to go once a month to eat, or they want to park right in front of, you know, their shop. And that just doesn't work. For businesses to be open 12 months a year, we have to have a sustainable, viable economy. And that doesn't work without being busy. And I know that means sometimes parking is tough, or you have to make a reservation. But all of those people that say, I want it to be like it was 20 years ago, still want those businesses. But they want them when they want them. And it's tough to have it both ways.
It is. But you don't want to throw out the baby with the bath.
I agree. I'm
So-
on board.
Okay, all right. Any other comments? We've got about 10 minutes.
I'd like to make a comment,
Okay,
based on these last comments. I think, I certainly was not born and raised here, but been here a day or two myself. And I agree with Mike that, it's not like it used to be. And I'm glad it's not like it used to be. I agree with the mayor that I think there needs to be certainly some perspective from both sides in the discussion. But I also think from a business point of view, anybody that's in business can recognize there are not people out walking the streets today or yesterday or the day before or last week, simply because of the time of year it is. People don't want to come up here as much. And it doesn't matter, we could put up the biggest Ferris wheel in the world. And I'm not trying to be negative and downplay all this. I agree.
Buzz, I would totally disagree. Were you in town this weekend? You couldn't move. I mean, Buzz.
Yeah, but it wasn't the 4th of July.
Well, not every day. Buzz.
I'm booked up
But it's not
Saturday.
every day is what I'm
My
saying.
point is, if we have a weekend in February, right, that you could roll a bowling ball down Main Street 15 years ago. And this last weekend and the weekend before, and most all weekends are busy, and our
And-
shops are busy and our restaurants are busy. So I
weekends are
disagree with
busy.
you. There are people walking the
there's
streets.
no problem with that. And I saw the King holiday. It was, a full.
I just want to
thing.
correct the perception that
Yeah.
we're not busy. That's not true. We're busy 12 months a year. And that is why restaurants that used to be open 5 months are open 12 months. And that's why now we're able to pay our employees a living wage and support their families. But yes, that comes with the fact that we have to have a certain level of business in the winter and the summer. But winter in Highlands is no longer a shoulder season or an off season.
I agree with that, but I guess maybe I wasn't making my point clear enough, is that I don't think Highlands is ever going to be a flat, this many people all the time. There's going to be ups and downs. People are going to have to, like Mike knows, and like the people that were here 30, 40, 50 years ago, you make the money this time of year to be able to hold it over to the winter. and make it through the winter. You had to subsidize certain months by bountiful months. And I think that's always going to be the way it is. I'm not sure that the town can do anything to make it level. And that's where I was going. I don't think it's ever going to be. Yes, I
And
agree.
respectfully, I disagree with you because I think if you talk to Thomas and Kay or any of us that used to bleed money in November, December, January, and February, March, that doesn't happen. The bell curve is flattened out. And January and February and March are not as profitable, but I think there are a lot of businesses in town that are doing better than you think.
Well, I think no, I would not disagree with that a bit. I don't want to take up the rest of our time. We need to get out of here. But certain businesses are going to thrive no matter what. And I won't name all those businesses, but some of them are not in this town, thank goodness.
Sure. We've got a few minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to give a devil's advocate and speak for the other side. I think it's but business person positive, so let's do all of it. But there is quality of life that we risk losing. Life is not all commercial. Life is a lot of other things as well. It's just another side of this, and in my opinion, that I call some of those people. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Can I say one thing? Because there's a silver lining to every cloud. And back in those days when you could roll the bowling ball down Main Street, that left us plenty of room to cut donuts night after night after night.
In the snow, that used to be here.
That too.
There you go. All right, we will do a follow-up and continue this discussion, and I appreciate
Thank you, man.
everybody coming, okay? We have just a few minutes before we start the regular meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the workshop? All in favor? We're adjourned.
Thank you.